So, welcome to another episode of In Between Homes podcast. And today I am with Jennifer, and Jennifer is going to share with us what brings joy into her life. So, welcome, Jennifer. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Lucy? Thank you for having me.
Amazing. Thank you. So, the first question I will have is if you look at yourself and your life 10 years ago, how was your life? Can you tell us a little bit what you were doing and how does it look like?
Yeah, so 10 years ago was just about 2 years before many things in my life started changing. And so it's a perfect place to start because it's a really good portrait of who I used to be. And I was in a career at that point, a little over 10 years as a CPA, working full time, 60-hour work weeks. And there was a big part of me that knew there was something more, or maybe not even more, but different and more tapped in to what brings me joy at that point, but I had no clue what it was. And I didn't even know why I felt that way. I didn't know if it was because of my career or my relationships or what it was at that point. And so I would say, if I were to describe how I felt and who I was confused. I had pain in my body all the time. And I really didn't know who I was at my core. I didn't know what my values were.
Mhm. And what did happen for you to start embarking on another journey, on a different way?
Yeah. So, um, one of the things that started my journey was that, I was having so much pain in my body and I was doing all of the things like the workouts and the massages and the chiropractic and all of those things. And I decided to join a program that had, just some learning on clean eating, meditation, and workouts. So movement, like healthy movement. And from that, I was introduced for the first time to meditation and mindset. And I never really understood the power of my mind before that program, and thank God for that coach who offered her program, and from there it just took me in so many different directions and introduced me to so many different things that really led to a tremendous transformation.
Mm. So, from the person that you are today, could you imagine 10 years ago this would be your life today?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It totally would have been like yeah, it would not have been even the slightest bit of what I would have dreamed at that point.
Can you tell us a little bit more what you do today to actually do you still have pain in your body? How is your life and feeling today?
Yeah, so from that program, I realized that the food I was putting in my body wasn't exactly um, healthy and was causing, lots of other things to happen in my body. And so after about 2 or 3 weeks, I really had this aha moment, like, oh wow, I don't actually have pain all over, because it was kind of like an all over pain all the time. Um, and so today, it's been about 3.5 years that I left that career where I was working a lot, I was traveling a lot, I wasn't seeing my family very often. And I really wasn't prioritizing me and what brought me joy. Um, And so at about 3.5 years ago, when I left that career, it was I went through a lot of fear and uh, questioning and doubt about myself and who I was and what I could do. But at the end of the day, I've now created something that I love. And now instead of helping businesses, um, audit their financial statements, helping them with their tax returns, for someone else, I now get to create a business myself that helps organizations reignite joy in their workplace so that they can have employees that love what they do, that are more productive, that stay longer, that are more engaged. Um, and because I made those choices for me, number one, to figure out who I was and what my values were and what my strengths and those types of things were, and then took that scary step to really take the action steps to create something that I love doing and that helps other people. I was able to release a lot of that pain in my body, as well as that just feeling of, I don't know who I am, and I'm confused as to why I think there's more out there for me.
Mm. Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling of confusion or maybe emptiness and not knowing. So at if you go back at the moment where you were ready to make this scary step of, leaving your corporate uh, professional career, I would say even, can you bring us at that moment where you felt ready to do that? What do you remember? What like help you to make the step?
Yeah, I very distinctly remember this moment because it was July 4th of 2020 and COVID had been happening since, March, so for several months, and my workload had skyrocketed even more than normal. And so because we were all working from home, we were constantly working, and there was like no separation between life and work. It was just tons of work. And I was on a project that we could not get done because everybody was so distracted and so worried about things going on. It was very difficult to get projects done. And I was sitting here in this office at my home working on 4th of July, which is a big holiday for us in the US. And the sun was going down. My family's in the other room watching movies, and I'm hearing fireworks and neighbors laughing and having fun outside. And I said to myself, I will never do this again. I am making a shift. This is my year. This is not happening again. And this was after a period of 7 months where I worked through every holiday. I worked through my birthday, my daughter's birthday, the death of my father. So at that point, I just had had enough. And I said, I don't know what it's going to take, but I am not doing this again. So that was really my aha moment.
Wow. Ooh, I have a chills and could feel this. I'm not doing this anymore again because I can relate to that in my own journey where I had a time where I really deeply told myself that, and it was kind of a promise to myself. So I think it feels the same for you, Jennifer, where it's like I can't do this anymore for myself. So you are in a way choosing yourself on that process, even though you don't know what to expect tomorrow and how things are going to be. So then you became an entrepreneur. Uh, is it the first? Is it the first time for you? How was maybe some challenges that came with that change of status and maybe identity as well?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because as you asked me about 10 years ago, I always said I don't want to be an entrepreneur. I just want to, do the job. Somebody else can pay me and take care of all of the back office things. I don't want to do all of that. And so making that shift really took a lot of becoming someone that I didn't know that I was and didn't think that I could become. But because I was so strong in that decision that this is no longer happening, um, I opened up more opportunities for my mind to understand and realize that it's actually okay. It's not as scary as it seemed. Um, and I was, the sole income earner in my home as well. And so that next year, by May of the next year, I gave my notice at the firm. I had decided, I had been doing a lot of research. I had decided what I was going to, deliver to clients as an entrepreneur. I didn't know exactly what the programs looked like, but I had a framework. And the reason that I was able to do that, really, I give so much credit to the community that I was a part of, because I was in a program which really allowed me to become more aware of me and my limiting beliefs about who I was. And so I spent, that almost a year or 9 months really releasing a lot of old beliefs.
Yeah, it's a really good point because often maybe when we think about starting a business, we want to dig in more business strategy and business knowledge, but actually the point you really showcase is I dig more into myself, who I am, my strength, my value, and I think this is an amazing advice for those who listen today about if you're a bit confused or you don't know what you would love in your life, or you would love to have maybe a business to be more free or having more freedom, that, it's not so much about the business skills. You may some on the way after add care or having support around that, but it's first about who you are and stepping into that work. And you mentioned earlier that now from doing tax return and financial review of businesses, organization, that now you want to bring joy into those organizations. Can you tell us more about how does it look like?
Yeah. So this really came about because as an auditor, I spent so much time in businesses, and, I would spend 2 to 5 weeks in a conference room auditing a company. And yes, I knew how to audit the numbers, and that was fine. But what I really loved about being in those businesses was getting to know the people, getting to know the culture, and understanding the different leadership styles. And what I realized is that there was an impact on the financial statements when a company had a positive environment for their employees and there was good leadership. And I didn't necessarily know why that was, or, I wasn't paid to be there for that reason. So I always put those ideas on the shelf while I was working. And once I had this opportunity to create what I wanted to create, I started to do a lot of research and found that really happy employees are more productive. They take less sick days. They're more creative. They stay with their employers longer. There's so many benefits when you have a focus on in benefiting your employees and having compassion and empathy for them. And that was something that was huge for me at the time that I was transitioning, because we were in the middle of COVID and we all needed more empathy and compassion at that time. And so once I really understood that there was science and data and research to support what I already knew and was seeing in the industry, it was easy for me to create a program and a way for companies to benefit from providing their employees with a joyful workplace. So
I love that. And then you speak their language, because then it brings more financial profit and more, good result. And
absolutely.
in a way, you created what you didn't receive from your own firm, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had a pretty good culture in my firm, but I definitely saw some things that could benefit us that we weren't doing. And I saw lots of clients that didn't have good
Mm.
cultures.
Yes. So this is also another example of when you are seeking to open a business or supporting others, is analyzing those gaps, comparing, what is working for you, for your company, and then maybe other company are not doing. So you are like, okay, maybe this is a piece of the puzzle that people are not doing, or organization in this case are not doing, that, oh yeah, I could bring that piece to others and I could share that knowledge. And I love what you said. It's like deep inside of you, you knew. It's just like you needed some tangible proof or some scientific research to confirm that, yes, Jennifer, you are right, and go for it. So
Absolutely.
how could you give advice to all of us today on how to cultivate more joy into our daily life, whatever it's at
Mm,
work? Because often I hear people around me, and it's kind of sad, they have struggle at work, and and they are in this sense where, oh, I love my job, and at the same time, I don't feel good about it. So how how can someone who is an employee, let's say, can cultivate more joy, even though if the organization is not doing joyful program for them?
yeah, it's such a good question because it's really what I did up until the point that I left, because I knew once I started the journey of understanding my mind and the power of my mindset, I really did start shifting a lot of those things. And so one of the first things that I did was to realize that joy is a choice. It's not something that's given to me by an external situation.
Mm.
It's something that comes from within. So if I choose to look at a situation and focus on all of the negative parts of it, then I'm going to spiral into more negativity. And if I can find the parts of it that are good and that I do enjoy and that I have a strength around, maybe some part of it that's really fun, um, and focus there, it can really shift your day. It can shift and change how you show up. And when you're showing up differently, other people are reacting to you in a different way. And because you're the energy that you're giving off, they're attracted to it and they want to be in that energy as well. They want to be more positive. And so that was the first thing that I did. What I learned as I was transitioning out of my career was a really fun process that you're familiar with, as well as the Chair of Joy practice, which, we've been given magical moments in our life, all of us. And when we can take a moment to pause, take a few deep breaths, and think about those past joyful moments, it can really shift your energy when you're struggling, when you're really stressed or you're angry about something or frustrated. So those are probably the two best recommendations that I have.
These are amazing advice. Would you love to host a quick chair of joy for us? Would you love
Sure.
to? So
Yeah.
everyone, if you are are driving or on the move, please don't close your eyes. But yeah, you can just go back to this moment in the episode to experience the chair of joy. Is a process that I've been learning from Jennifer and her team a few months ago, and it's beautiful experience. And I'm so happy she said yes to share this with you now.
Absolutely. So the chair of joy practice is 4 steps, and you can do it very quickly. Sometimes it takes a little bit more time for you to sit and breathe to release some of the things that you're attached to. But the 4 steps are to sit, breathe, think, and feel. So I'll walk you through those. And if you do want to close your eyes or just softly look down, that can be really effective. So the first step is really to choose a chair that you would love to sit in. And this chair can be anywhere in the world, something that feels really supportive and comfortable, peaceful, even maybe. And just envision yourself there right now. And this is allowing your mind to stop and pause and shift. And here is where you're setting an intention that I'm about to shift from whatever I'm feeling currently into something that is a little higher vibrationally, and that will put me in a state that's more effective for my next task. So once you've chosen your chair, I'll have you sit there in your mind and take a couple of deep breaths with me. Take a breath in and really expand your diaphragm. Hold maybe for a few seconds and breathe out. I like to roll my shoulders, maybe my neck a little bit. Breathe in. Expand everything and just release. We'll do that one more time. And if anything feels heavy for you, any thoughts or emotions that are feeling a little bit icky or heavy or stressful, we're going to release that in our exhale. So breathe in and just drop those heavy things. And the next step is just to think of a joyful moment. Something in your past. It could be from yesterday or it can be from a long time ago. And you might have several thoughts swirling around in your head, but I want you to settle in on just one joyful moment from the past. And once you have that moment, I want to imagine yourself in that moment, as if you've just stepped into it and you're there. What do you hear? Who is with you? What do you see? Is there a scent in the air? Is there something that you feel on your skin? What are you wearing? Think of all the details and then just allow yourself to feel as if you are there in that moment. What does it feel like in your body to be a part of this so joyful moment? Do you feel it as a warmth in your heart or a tingle on the back of your neck? Allow that feeling to expand for a minute. Maybe times 2. Could you multiply it by 10? How does that feel? And just allow yourself to feel that as long as you need or want, and you can come back when you're ready.
Oh my God, this is so powerful. I love it. Thank you, Jennifer. You brought me back to Marrakesh when I organized like just a weekend getaway with some friends, and to that particular lunch after visiting the Majorelle Gardens. And it was just the chat about abundance and how you choose yourself and self-love. So thank you. I hope
Oh, I love it.
it was beautiful. Um, so I definitely, I've been working as well in organization, and bringing more joy, to everyone, but also especially in those um, places where a lot of people work together, where, sometimes the structure is not always, the environment is not always designed to support the joy of every single person. But it's true, like at the individual level, whatever your management is in or out for this, you can choose. And I think this is an amazing message from Jennifer today, where you can choose joy. You can cultivate the joy. You can re-listen to this share of joy on a daily basis, like 10 times a day if you need. It will bring you to different memories. And one thing I've been experiencing a lot with those share of joy is there's always people in those memories. So, it's when we dedicate time to create connection, to be with our friends or family or lover or kids, it's actually those moments are procuring us so much deeply joy. So yeah, I feel so high now. um, so we saw the transition, the leap of faith you have taken. So now you are 3 years and a half later, really choosing yourself, choosing joy. And how has been this transition from your family perspective, where you were saying before that you were in that office almost by yourself, even though you were at home and people were having your people, your own children and husband having fun together, and you were kind of isolated, focusing only on work. How is life now with your family?
It's so different, Lucy, but our lives are very integrated. So when before COVID, when I was actually going into the office to work, I would leave on Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. and I wouldn't see my kids again until Friday morning because sometimes I would stay. I worked quite a ways away, about 45 miles away from my home. Sometimes I would stay with a coworker so that I wouldn't have to do the drive because it was so late. And other times I would just get home after they were in bed. And then I would get up the next morning and leave again at 6 in the morning and not come home until after 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. And now our lives are so integrated that it's hard to separate. So I get up in the morning and I see them for, breakfast, off to school. I'm able to pick them up in the afternoon if I need to. My husband does still a lot of the help with the children, but like today he said, "Hey, I'm out and I can pick up, our daughter." So here I am. I'm able to do those things. I don't have to miss games and performances or run late and stress out because, I can't get there. I'm sitting in traffic. I made my first sourdough bread this morning, which I never would have been able to do before. So, it's things like that that's really part of my joy in creating more moments that are simple and magical.
Mm. Yeah, you really like, and you didn't choose one or the other. Before was only work, or like you kind of sacrifice a little bit your family or the moment, the connection with them, because work was taking so much. And now it's integration. I love this word because it's not you are not doing your business anymore. No, it's you are doing all, like you are choosing to be present, you are choosing to be that. And how this maybe have even strengthening your love relationship with your husband.
Yeah, it's a journey. We've been married 24 years now, and so I've become a very different person than I was a few years ago. Um, and so the relationship is always transitioning, and we're always learning and growing together. Since he was the stay-at-home parent for so many years, now we're transitioning because our kids are growing and they don't need us as much. And so now we're transitioning into, is there something that he would love to do to earn money? And so, there's just always something new to learn about each other. So it's fun, it keeps it fresh.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing to see how after 24 years you're still learning to discover the person you are with and you are growing together. Maybe you have started a transition first and then now is his turn and all of that. So it's a beautiful dynamic as two people, and I think it's also what is helping the relationship to last, I guess, because often I can hear people separate because, one is growing and the other is maybe staying, where is it? But then, would you have one advice for love relationship in the sense of, when you have been on your own growth journey where maybe you have been facing a lot of questioning about yourself, your value and all of that, how did you interact with your partner during that transitional moment?
Yeah, I mean, so many times it felt like we were moving in different directions, or that one was moving and one wasn't. And it can be very frustrating. And at the end of the day, I made a commitment to this family and to this relationship. So in some cases, I just waited. And in some cases, I was very consistent with how I was showing up. And and then I started to see like the impact that my training and learning was having on me. I started to see it in him without him even, reading the books that I did or going through the coaching classes that I did, right? And so he would say things back to me, and I was like, that sounds like my something my coach would say. And so at the end of the day, if you've made a commitment and this is what you desire for your life, hang in there. I mean, the best advice that I have is really just decide that you're going to make it work.
Mm.
Um, once you decide that, there's really nothing that you can't do or overcome.
Yes, yes. It was my next question about an advice, really about when you want to create that life that you deeply love, but you just say it is like this commitment and I guess the certainty about it. Not knowing how, but the certainty that this is what I want, this is what I will have. And I don't know when, I don't know how, but this is the certainty. So to everyone that listened today, there's so much great advice in that conversation. And we talked earlier about the promise, about work, but it's the same about the relationship, is the commitment. So it starts with us because, as Jennifer just explained, she kind of infused all the work she did for herself to her environment, to her husband, and he didn't have to read the books. She just like radiated that on him, and it's how your environment can actually change as well because you are changing, you are doing the work for yourself. So it's an amazing advice. Thank you so much. And my last question would be around my love for numbers and finances and how I date often my finances. How has been for you the journey? Because you have been from a paycheck to the entrepreneur. So what has been the journey for you around your finances in all those transitions?
Yeah, it's a great question because yes, I chose the accounting career because it was stable and consistent, and I knew that I could rely on it. I didn't come from a stable financial family growing up. And so that's why I was drawn to that career, and making the choice to choose something that felt less stable was very difficult. And I ended up writing a story about fear, and it was published actually in that book that's back here. Um, in order to help myself get through that choice and that decision, um, I think the biggest part for me is, and you've shared so many beautiful things with me over the last year about really getting to know your finances and spending time there. But the biggest thing for me is that I get to rely on God now and know that He's chosen this path for me and I'm following it. And I'm not relying on an individual or another company for my financial stability. I get to rely on the one that created me and the universe. So if you think about it in that way, it's actually more stable, right?
Yeah.
Because the universe is endless and never runs out. A company can go bankrupt, can, lots of things can happen, can lay you off. But when you're relying on the ultimate source of all abundance, that is what gives you security and safety. And then it never goes away.
Exactly. It's beautifully said. It's really this knowing that things will work out and there's a greater power within ourselves or, externally of ourselves, the God, the universe, whoever you believe in is supporting you all the way until the last day. It's not just during, you don't have to work, you don't have to be pushing hard or do those 14 hours a day to get there, to have enough money to pay the food. Is no, what I am here to do, what I love to do, and how I can share my gift with others is this is what is going to bring the abundance into your life. So thank you for sharing that. um the last session before we finish this call is about the rapid five, and it's a quick question where you can answer with 5 words or one sentence max, and it's just like, yeah, whatever's coming to you. Are you ready
Okay,
for it?
sure.
So, one thing that you would love for your life.
More travel,
Ooh. One thing that you would love for the world.
more peace,
Hmm. The worst advice you have ever received.
work harder.
Yeah. The best advice you have received.
Oh, so many. Joy is always present.
Hmm. And if you had a magic wand, what would you transform?
Politics.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's been such a pleasure to have you today, to bring more joy, to choose more joy, and to know that joy is always present. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Lucy.
And to all that listen, Jennifer details are below the episode. Don't hesitate to follow her to get more insight about how it can bring more joy into your life. And I see you next week for the next episode.